Hello again. Thanks for joining us on Vacation Station TV. And it is time now for Cooking with Jeff. Whoa, wait a minute. Cooking with Jeff and Marie. That's right. Today, it's going to be Jeff and Marie cooking a wonderful meal. Now, being it's cold, it's a little chilly, nothing like a beef stew to warm you up and sit on your ribs and bones. But notice something different. We don't have all the same ingredients that you guys use in your beef stew. So today, we're going to turn all of this that you see here into this.
Turn us off while you still can.
Now, as you can see, the ingredients are pretty basic, very basic. Got a good piece of beef here. Now notice there's the bone and a lot of fat. Make sure when you buy meat you get a lot of marbling. That's what this is right there. The marbling is the taste of everything you do. In steak and hamburgers and everything, you got to have the fat. And the bone is important too, because in here is a lot of very tasty fat, which makes the stew what it is. Then you get some lean beef, as you can see, very lean, very little marbling indeed. And what you want to do is combine the two of them together. So you'll be able to get really good taste out of this meat. Also notice over here, this is not your standard greens. Now most of you Americanos, you will use probably, you could use spinach, you can use collard greens or any of the dark greens. But an Asian beef stew will be using baby bok choy. Very good. And you can find this in any grocery store. It's not hard to find. We got this out of Kroger, and you can find it right there in the vegetable section. And then, of course, green beans. Nice, good, snapping in the mouth green beans. A red onion, because you want the flavor of the red onion in that stew very much, because a regular onion will do it, but a red onion will really make it good. And then a couple of russet potatoes, because you want the starchy goodness that comes out of the potato to get into that stew. That's what gives it its texture, and that's where the flavor is going to reside, is all in that stew. So stick around. We're going to turn this whole thing into magic right after this. Okay, the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to cook that big piece of meat. That's important because it's got to cook down. That fat has to get out of there, and it's got to get into the juice, and that's where everything is happening, is the water, the juice, the fat, the meat, all that stuff has to get in there. So Marie is going to dunk my meat in the water. There. Dunk it good. Yeah. And you put your water on high, and it'll take about 15 minutes for it to start to boil. Now you always start out with the thickest piece of meat first, because that's the one that's got to cook down to create the juices that will make this magnificent beef stew. What a treat it would be if you have guests over to your house during this holiday season and you surprise them with a homemade beef stew, Asian style. Da 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 da. Okay, the first thing that we're going to cut is the baby bok choy. You want to take the ends off. There's the end where they harvest it on the ground. This stuff is grown all over the place, so it's very easy to get and pretty inexpensive. You just want to take the tail end off. Tail end off. You rinse them off first. Rinse them off really good. Always rinse your vegetables. Important. You don't know who's been touching them or where they've been. They could have been on the bad side of town. Just take off the ends. If you got a rabbit or if you have animals that hang around the house, just toss them outside. They love it. They love it. Then you want to break them into nice sizes, because you don't want to suck up on your fork a big old piece of bok choy. So, and notice when you cut it, they just break down. You see that? They break right down. Always sharpen your knife before you do anything. Get yourself a good sharpening stick, or what they call a sharpening stone. I prefer the stick. The stick is easier, it's quicker, and it does the job just right. Now you have good bite-sized pieces of bok choy. These will break right down. If you catch a tail end like that, you get rid of the tail end. All right? If there's too much tail end, just cut it off. Just get rid of it. Don't even bother with it. Tail ends, they're not going to be, I mean, they may be tasty, but I don't bother with them. Just like that. Then next, we'll cut the next thing. All right, next we're going to cut the potato. Get the rest of this debris out of here. I prefer to leave the skins on the potato, and the reason is that's where all the nutrients are, that's where all the vitamins are. So many people strip them down and you just have starch, because that's basically what a potato is. You're just going to cut into it, just strike it in half, cut again in half, and then nice chunky pieces, because you want, when you put that fork or spoon into your mouth, you want to have a nice piece of potato with a piece of meat and maybe some vegetables. That would be nice. And for this meal, we're only using 2 russet potatoes because there's just the 2 of us. Now you figure everybody would eat a potato. So when you're counting what you need as your ingredients, figure everybody wants 1 potato. Now if you have extra, that's fine. It's worse to have not enough, if you know what I mean. It's always better to have leftovers than not enough. Nothing so dreadfully embarrassing than when you run out of food at a party. So there you go. There's your potatoes. They're all cut up, ready to go, diced up, with the skins on, because it is the right thing to do. Any good chef will leave the skins on. Next, we take our red onion. Now remember, I said red onion normally is, you use them in a salad, but when you want a good, hearty flavor of onion, you go with the red onion. You could use the white Spanish onions, but they tend to overpower a meal, so you don't really want to do that. You want the taste of an onion in your meal, not the total meal tasting like an onion. In this case, remember I showed you all about the ribs. If you cut them a certain way, they'll dice themselves. We don't want to do that. We want chunks. That's what we want. So I'm cutting against the ribs. The ribs are facing me, and then you just go down and cut like that. Because now they're not going to do what, they don't break down the way that I told you about doing if you want to make them chopped. We don't want that. Cut it like that, and like that. Now you could use 2 of these if you want. Depends on how much onion flavor you want in your stew. But for the most part, these are pretty good. That will give a really nice flavor. Next, we're going to use the green beans. The green beans are pretty much something you've got to use in a beef stew. It's traditional, and you don't want to break tradition too much. We're already breaking tradition enough by using the bok choy. But you get your green beans, and people call them pole beans, whatever. Take the ends off of them. Just snap the end. You can usually grab 2 or 3 at a time, and you just cut off the ends, put them in, and just keep doing that. It's repetitious, I know that, but you just do it. I could remember my grandmother and my mother taking each one of these, each one, and probably Frank Corona, he'd understand. They would sit there and they would talk about the old world. They'd go back to Italy and they would break just like that. They'd sit there and they go, oh, blah, 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 whatever they were speaking, and they would sit there and do this for an hour. That isn't going to happen. I'm not doing this for an hour. You just cut off the ends, and keep doing that until all the beans are done. Roughly for 2 people, you want a whole pound, 1 pound of the beans, the string beans. That works that way. 2 people, 1 pound, unless you like string beans. Okay, remember I told you I didn't want to end up like my mom and my grandma sitting there for hours talking about the old world. But usually, you just take a few of these in a row. Just see what I'm doing? Let me make sure I got the camera on here. Yeah, there you go. You just line them up. Just line them up at the edge of your knife. Turn it around. And then, even though they were uneven, you line them up with the edge of the knife. Now they're all even on this side. Now they're all cut. See what I did? Did you see that? I could take 4 or 5. Now they're all kind of different sizes. But you take the blade, just scoot it along. You see that? Just scoot it along. Now they're equal. Now you cut the end off, turn them around, and you go, uh-oh, Jeff, you idiot. They're not equal. They're not, you dumbo, you bozo. Well, you just take the blade and just move it in. See that? Now they're straight. Cut the ends off. Now I just saved myself a whole lot of time. Now if I would have known this when my grandmother and mother were alive, they probably would have hit me in the head, because they enjoyed sitting there talking about the old school, the old world. And I had no time for that. It's all about getting it done and eating. Right? And just straighten it out with your blade. Just straighten it out with your blade. There it is. They're done. 5, 6, 7 in a row. Just like that. Okay, so as you can see, here it is. These are the basic ingredients that you need to make a beef stew Asian style. Onions, green beans, reject, potatoes, and baby bok choy. Now, like I said, you can use anything you want, any green you want, but try the baby bok choy. It is actually very good. It's not bitter. It doesn't have any other taste than what a green would have. It's baby bok choy. Try it. It's almost the same price as lettuce. But everything is here and ready to go. And if you notice, the meat is cooking. It's boiling nicely. Remember, leave that tilted out so your steam goes away from your electronics. And the rest is just waiting for the magic. Okay? Just like this. Okay, now that the meat is done, you can see this nice piece of meat here. It is done. Cooked down for about an hour. There's that fat I was telling you about. Now that will continue to cook. We'll render that down really good. We'll get that down to a nice glaze in no time. But what you want to do is take the meat, find the easiest side to cut the bone from. You want to separate the meat from the bone. Now that's nice and soft. I mean, that is really nice and soft. You may want to sharpen your knife really good before you start, but you want to take that off. And you don't want to take all the meat off the bone. And any fat that you find, put it right back into the water. Here you go. That is cooked down really nice. And you're going to want to put that back into the water, because that's still got a lot of cool nutrients and fat. This as well. You want to cut it down. You can see how quick it cuts right down. I mean, I'm barely touching it with the knife. Look at that. That just breaks apart. Look at that. Watch. You can see that from that angle. Look at that. That just falls. I mean, I could literally just pull it apart if I want. But you want to get chunks of meat, break them down to about that wide, about 1/2 inch wide, all the way. Now remember, this is a meal for 2. So if you're going to have more people, you're going to need more meat. And then once you get those done, I'm going to switch this around. And then cut them into about 1-inch pieces. Drag your knife over. You really don't have to go cutting hard at all. Don't get violent with the thing. Just cut into it. Cut the pieces. Especially now the fat pieces you want to leave. Notice I didn't cut those away, because I want those to go back into the pot, as well as this meat here. Any of the larger pieces you want to cut down to a bite-size piece, a human bite, not a I could say so many things, but I won't. A normal bite from a human. I'm not talking about shoving a whole leg down your throat or something like that.
You said it.
I said it anyway. Now some of these pieces have a nice, look at that fat. Now that's going to boil all down. That is going to cook down for sure. Even though I'm going to put it right back in the pot, in a few minutes that fat won't be there. It'll be in the juices. So what we're going to do now is put all of this meat into, as long as I don't burn myself, because it's still a little warm, but it's not hot. I'll let it cool for a minute or so that you can handle it and not get burned really bad, because this meat stays hot for a while. You just want to, you don't have to let it cool for an hour or anything. 5-10 minutes, that's all you need. And put it right back into the water, because you don't want to leave it out. It's still swimming around. It's still going, la la la, I'm swimming. Put that, oh, that one's a little hot. And there you go, those in there. Now that we got these in the pot, we're going to take our other meat. This here. This is the finer meat that we have. This is more of a lean meat that we're working with. And this will give you the extra beef that you need to eat. All right. There's good flavor in this, but there's a lot more flavor in that, for sure. I keep them together. As long as you got a good sharp knife, you don't have to separate them. But, you know, if you want to, you can. You just drag your knife over it without putting your finger under the knife. Never put your finger under a knife for any reason whatsoever. Unless you're trying to get state secrets out of you. And then that's a whole other story. Just cut that down there like that. And notice they're in strips. Like this. And then just start. Now if you want, you can do it in just small pieces at once. Sometimes the fat sticks. So we'll just take a little bit of this. Cut it. These are bite-sized pieces. Now, when there's quite a few of these in here, you're only seeing the top layer, but there's quite a few. And then you're going to drop them into the pot, let them cook down. There's quite a few right there. It doesn't matter if it's bunched up like this, okay? You go, oh, it's got to be neat and straight. No, so you just got to cut the meat. It'll break apart on itself, by itself, in just a couple of minutes. Bite-sized pieces. You can see that's quite a bit of meat. It's very inexpensive. Depending on, you know, you can get you can go the really cheap route and get chuck steak, which that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That chuck will boil down and cook good, and you can get that usually a few bucks a pound. If you start going into the heavier end, the pot roast, or the larger pieces of meat like we had here, you're going to pay, you know, $8, $9, $10 a pound. It's all about your budget. So you can buy the meat according to your budget. And always look for meat that's on sale, by the way. There's always meat on sale. Go for the sale, stock up on it, throw it in your freezer, and everything will be cool. Now we put that in the pot, and we'll be back to you in just a second after this boils. All right. We'll count it down for the novies here. What do you call them there? The probies.
I have to check.
I'm sure it's ready.
I have to
Yeah, see?
the onion.
No.
What
Hold on. Did I count it down? Did I count it down?
Oh my
No, I
goodness.
didn't. All right. All right, we're finishing up the beef stew. Coming down in 3, in 2. Okay, now as you can see, there's the pot of boiling meat. Look how beautiful that. Show 'em. Now Marie is cooking right now. If you see, those aren't my delicate little hands because I got those old beefy hands here. There, look at that.
Yeah, that's good.
Show some other meat because you got all different types of meat, and there's the bone.
Yeah.
It's all in there. All right, now how about salt and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have to add the onions.
All right, now what are we putting in the red onions in? Right? And Enit, which means hot. For the people that go,
I'm sorry, it's hot.
It's hot. Well, just put them in there. There you go. And the taters.
You should be in the camera.
No, that's okay. You got to do this. Put the beans in too now, because they take a while. Those are fresh beans. Just pour it in. There you go. And the taters. The very last thing that we're going to be putting in is the baby bok choy. Just pour it in. You're too slow. You take too much time. Now we've got the meat, the potatoes, the onions, and the green beans. Now you're going to put in 3 tablespoons. There's the tablespoons.
Why do you have to measure?
Because people have to let them see it. Let them see the spoon. And yeah, over there. Oh my God. Cooking with Marie. No, that's not a full tablespoon. You got to do a full tablespoon. Fill it up. Fill it up. Okay, now you got a full. That's 2. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. 3 tablespoons of salt. Now, salt is to taste. Now, if you like it salty, just add a little bit more. But one thing you can't do is unsalt a meal. So use my recipe of 3 tablespoons, stir it around, and it takes a little while, a few minutes, for that salt to get in the liquid. So don't just dip your spoon in and then taste it and go, that's not enough, because you'll find out that it will be too much.
It looks good to me, honey.
Yeah, stir it good. You want to get all that salt in there. Now, we using pepper in this?
Are we on camera?
Yes, we are. We're on camera.
You have to edit what I said.
No. We don't edit. Put a tablespoon of pepper.
Black peppercorn.
Black pepper. You want peppercorns in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Tablespoon. Or you can put it in your hand. Tablespoon takes up like the palm of your hand. I'm teaching her. There's your tablespoon of peppercorns. Now, you can add regular pepper because the peppercorns aren't going to be like the pepper.
what? I forgot.
I know.
We have to put the measurement on camera.
Yes. There you go. Now, once again, the pepper is also to taste. If you like it real peppery, then add more pepper. I'm just giving you a basic overall recipe that gets you there. Now you've got to kind of modify it to your taste buds. And some people like it hot, some people don't. Some people like it salty, some people don't. Now, the very last thing, show them, that we won't be putting in yet, but we will be showing that shortly, is the baby bok choy that's been cut.
Or you can add cabbage too, if you want.
Yeah, and even use Napa cabbage too,
or
right?
Napa cabbage or both.
Now, the Napa cabbage is they call it in the grocery store Chinese cabbage.
Chinese cabbage and bok choy, you can do that. Or you can just do
greens and stuff.
Bok choy.
Or bok choy. Or if you like collard greens or you like spinach.
Don't put collard greens.
Some people use it in their stews.
That's going to be bitter.
Very
don't
bitter.
Put spinach. Yeah. That's going to be bitter.
I like spinach, though.
Oh.
And, yeah, stir it up.
I don't like it.
I know you don't like it. Stir it good, and then you drop the heat down to medium. We had it on high this time. Bring it down to 5.5, 6, half medium on your stove. If you find you have a medium is good. And you just let it sit there for a while. Now, this is going to have to cook for another 15, 20 minutes easily before we put in the bok choy. Then you're going to turn the heat off and let all of this simmer by itself with the top on for another 15, 20 minutes. And then, now you could serve it up after that.
Until the vegetable, I guess it's...
Until they're soft. The beans are soft, the potatoes are soft, the onions are soft. Or half cooked, because you don't want to overcook.
Yeah, I don't want the half cooked, the
overcooked.
Overcooked.
No,
vegetables.
Neither do I. I like a good snappy vegetable. I don't like everything all soupy. All right, so stick around. We got more coming in just a moment. Okay, our beef stew sure looks done to me. I don't know if you can see that. That looks pretty well done to me. Look. Big old pieces of beef. Look at that. That is nice. Potatoes, onions, green beans, and now for the pasty resistance. I mean the pasty resistance. Is the bok choy. That's always the last. The green, the light stuff always goes last because it cooks up so quick. Hey, get in there. Get in there. And you just stir it in, and it only takes a couple of minutes. In fact, what you can do, you can actually turn off your heat now and just let the heat of the stew that's there, it will cook the bok choy or any greenery. You don't want to overcook the greenery because all it does is it just loses all whatever iron or minerals are in it, no matter what you're using, cabbage or bok choy or spinach or green, whatever. It just becomes nothingness.
Yeah, just make sure that, that white stalks.
Yeah.
That white stalks have have to be soft.
Oh, they will be. They'll sink in. What'll happen is they'll suck up from the heat. They'll suck up a lot of the juice, and then they'll just settle down. Sheer weight does that. But you stir it up good. You get all that in there. It tastes really good. I tried just the soup itself, and it is good. I mean, there's some good old hearty chunks of meat there. And it smells good too. Then just drop the top on and leave it like that. Leave it on the burner because the burner's still warm, and then just let it do what it's going to do. And in about 10 or 15 minutes, the stew will be ready. I don't like to eat it right out of when it's cooked like that. I like to let it sit, cool, put it in the refrigerator, and the next day, or at least several hours it's been in the refrigerator, it will taste a lot better. Remember that. It does taste better if you leave it in the refrigerator. Kind of rhymed. As close as I could get. Right? Now, doesn't that look delicious? Look at that wonderful, beautiful, big chunks of potatoes, big chunks of delicious, succulent meat, bok choy, onions, and that delicious broth. This is a hearty meal for everyone in the family. Easy, cheap, and fun, and everyone's going to love it because there's nothing in there I don't think anybody doesn't like. So make sure you check out this recipe again, and of course, comment and like and subscribe, but comment, tell me what you think, especially if you cooked it. Tell Marie and I, say, hey, that was a pretty good meal. You know, what else you got in store? We got a lot more in store, but we want to make sure you try this, especially in the cold winter months. So remember, as Marie says, like, comment, and subscribe. Right, Marie?
Yes.
She walked away. What do you want to say to the people?
We wanted to thank the viewers.
Yeah.
That appreciates the new venture that we're doing.
Yep.
Cooking.
Cooking with Jeff and Marie. And remember, cooking with Jeff and Marie is fun, easy, and delicious. That is delicious if I'm the one who's cooking it. That's why I got Marie a new frying pan today. Because she burnt the last one up and the fire department took up a collection, didn't they? That's my wife.
There's no light in the men's room.